everyone. Come on in to Act Now Live. I'm Dr. Natalie Phillips.
And I am Reg Corona. Hi, everyone.
Hi, so sorry we're late. We thought we went live earlier and we weren't. And so we figured it out and we're back. So we are super excited because this week we're going to be talking about goal setting. And I just wanted to encourage people that I know it's the middle of July and we've had such a rough, 3 months or so of just maybe not reaching your goals. We want to help hold you accountable, and we want to make sure that if you want to engage with us, post it in the comments, maybe some goals that you want to reach. It's going to be really exciting. We have a great guest with you today, actually.
Yeah, and just a reminder, during this month of July, we are talking about mindset and goal setting. And for the past 2 weeks, we've been talking about things like changing and how it's so hard for many of us to change and get in the right mindset to go after those big dreams that we have, right? So mindset plays such a critical role, and breaking the change cycle is so important. We get stuck in this cycle of change, and we find that it's hard to stay committed to the changes that are needed to go after our goals and our dreams. So we talked about that. And then we also talked about last week, I wasn't here, but Natalie did a fabulous job of talking about mindset and growth versus fixed mindset. So we are going to continue along those lines, but today we're going to get into goal setting. So Natalie, I'm super excited about this episode.
Yeah, I am too. And, before we bring on our special guest, I wanted to just review for everyone that we do have a YouTube channel. So if you're not a Facebook user, you've got friends out there that you want to see our show, to go ahead and head to our YouTube channel, type in Act Now Guide and hit subscribe and notifications so that you know that when a new episode drops in YouTube that you will be notified for that.
Hit that bell.
What's that?
I said hit that bell for the notification and subscription.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. So we will be back with our special guest right after this. Okay, so we have a really special guest. It is my dear friend, Dr. Amit Gosalia. Welcome to the show.
Welcome, Amit.
Thank you. I was just jamming out to the intro music. That was fun.
I almost had you up here. I'm just making sure that people can see you and that we've got you up here. Okay, so you can see him, right, Reg?
Yes, I can.
Okay, good. Then I'm going to keep going. Okay, so Dr. Gosalia is a fellow audiologist. He is a dear friend of mine. I've learned so much from him. He's a business consultant, a keynote speaker. He's a mentor to students, a mentor to other audiologists to help their businesses grow and achieve growth. And so we're super excited because I wanted him to be on the show today because he and I and another audiologist, Ashley, started this group called Odd Lifestyle on the premise that Dr. Gosalia, just wanted to get healthy and invite a bunch of audiologists along. And so we started this group called Odd Lifestyle, and he introduced to a lot of people and reminded them about one of the biggest strategies that is out there to help achieve your goals, which is smart goal setting. And you guys have maybe, thought about it, learned about it, forgot about it, whatever it is. I want to review this amazing strategy because I think it's really important. I think it's really, really something that Amit lives his life by. And again, reminds people to do as well. So Amit, introduce yourself a little bit to our listeners.
Sure. I think you hit it on the head. I do all those things. I'm fairly active in the community, the audiology community. I'm getting more active in the medical community. I do enjoy the business aspects and the dollars and cents and the numbers aspects, but I do like the goal setting, and I was number one, I'm honored to be here because I'm very excited to eventually read your book, of course, but I do enjoy that goal setting aspect, and so I'm looking forward to getting into it with you guys.
Awesome.
Cool.
So, one of the things that let's start talking about SMART goals. Like, what is a SMART goal?
Great question. So one of the things that people do is they make a goal, and that goal, whether, if we talk about the Odd Lifestyle page, for example, is, hey, I want to maybe lose weight. Well, the reality is, just by saying I want to lose weight, that's not really a goal. And I think the famous phrase is, any goal without a plan is just a dream, right? So if we don't plan appropriately and we don't take the necessary steps to really hit certain milestones throughout this process and be as accurate as possible, we can get lost very easily. So there's this term which you've mentioned, which is called a SMART goal. Now, the SMART goal basically is broken up into 5 sections. Surprisingly, S, M, A, R, and T. So S being very specific, M being measurable, A being attainable or achievable, R being relevant, and T being time sensitive or timely. Now, when you look up SMART goals, you may see different definitions for those different letters, but the bottom line is it's essentially the same idea. Thank you for putting that graphic up, and we'll come back to it because that's something that I've been doing this year for myself, and I wanted to show that off a little bit to show you how it's done in real life. But to give that fitness example, if somebody really wanted to lose weight, we can break that up into those 5 categories. So talking about being specific, well, is it just a global comment that I just want to lose weight, or is it that I want to lose 10 pounds? Well, stating that you want to lose 10 pounds is a bit more accurate and more specific. If you want to, I just want to lose weight, because I want to lose weight means you could lose 1 pound and now you've achieved your goal, which is not accurate. So you want to be very specific about what it is. Measurable, with weight loss, if we're looking at specifically weight, which, we can argue whether that's the best metric. But if we are looking at weight loss, of course, we can look at a scale, we can put ourselves on a scale and see what our weight is, and then we can track that. So that's a measurable way of looking at weight. When we talk about A being achievable, well, if I weigh, let's say I weigh 200 pounds, and if I say I want to lose 100 pounds in the next year, that's probably not attainable unless you've done something superiorly drastic, which probably isn't the healthiest thing to do. You want to make a goal that is achievable, because the point of goal setting is not to fail. You may fail, and that's okay to fail, but you don't want to put it so far out there that it's not achievable. The R is relevance. And of course, if we're talking about losing weight, what are the things that we're going to be doing that are relevant to losing weight? Sitting around versus running or walking or bicycling or using the elliptical. These are examples of things that should be relevant to your goals. And then finally is timely or time-bound or time-sensitive, whatever you want to use for the letter T. The reality is creating a deadline that, this has to be done within a certain time period. Now, I use these SMART goals for not only fitness, of course, I'm always looking at that aspect of it, but in business as well. And you can use this for almost any aspect of your life. Anytime you are planning something or you want to reach a goal, I want to make sure that I can get to New York for a vacation. Well, that's the goal. How are you going to do it? So if you have to look at it financially, what about, we talked about health. What about, relationship goals? I mean, that you can use the same technique. And there's something that I added, which I added this year. And not only are these SMART goals, but I've also added an ER, and I didn't make that up, so I won't take credit for it. I actually saw it. And we're now calling them SMARTer goals. And so there's an ER at the end. The E stands for evaluate, and the R stands for reward. So when we look at our SMART goals and we add these 2 extra metrics, we give ourselves an opportunity to continue to evaluate. Now, what your audience doesn't know is we were chatting right before, just for a few minutes, and I was talking about I forget sometimes to look at my goals. Well, that evaluation should happen periodically. I know, Reg, you were talking about, you have these daily ones, which is fantastic. And as long as you look at it, you can evaluate it. And then the reward, of course, any goal should have a reward. Otherwise, why do it? So the reward, you want to reward yourself. So I've kind of added this ER to the end of it, and it's, it's still a SMART goal, but now I want to call it a SMARTer goal.
I love that.
I
That's
do
really cool.
too.
I
I
haven't ever heard of that before you mentioned it today. Have
I
you?
don't think I've heard it either, but I always talk about the importance of evaluation. And I come from an IT background, and measurements are so important. And then I'm in the nonprofit space now, where measurements and evaluation are extremely important. So for me, if you can't evaluate what you've done, then it's not as effective as it could be, which means you are missing out on some of the potential of that goal setting process. So I love the adding the
Yeah.
ER to the actual acronym. That's cool.
Yeah, the thing
I'm going to
about
borrow that now.
Yeah.
yeah, it's all yours. In fact, I stole it, so you can borrow it from me. I stole it. You borrow my steal and prop, whatever. The thing that we have to realize about evaluating is that it's very easy for us to forget that a year from now, if you wrote down a goal and you tucked it away, and then a year from now you look at it, you may think, oh, I had an opportunity in June where I could have done something that would have helped me reach my goals. So it is extremely important. I would like to talk about whiteboards here later on today, but it's important to be able to look at those goals and evaluate it constantly. It's not just a one-off thing that I'm going to set this goal and I'm going to look at it later. You got to continuously monitor it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you shared a little bit of your experience with just using SMART goals with your health. If you want to delve into some other experiences, feel free. But, what is your routine like, and what keeps you committed to continuing to make these SMART goals?
Sure. My pie in the sky answer is I write it down. I look at it every single morning and every night, but unfortunately I don't do that. So full transparency, I try my best to look at it as much as possible. So what my routine is I make a plan of action, and essentially business wise, and maybe we can pull up my 2020 SMART goals here, or excuse me, smarter goals. And the idea here is that with my 2020 smarter goals, this is exactly what's behind my head right now. And I took what's on the wall behind me and I put it into this graphic here for your audience. And you'll see that on the left side, because I do a lot of consulting and I get invited to speak at a lot of conferences or meetings, and companies will ask me to speak at their for them, excuse me. So what I've decided to do this year is, my 9-to-5 job, I'm a doctor, I'm an audiologist. I see patients 9 to 5, if you will, not exactly 9 to 5, but what am I doing on the side? When people talk about side hustles, this is becoming more prominent for me on the financial side of it. And so basically what I've done is I wanted to increase the number of my consulting appointments, meaning my one-on-ones with other business owners. I've now started going into other professions besides audiology. I also want to increase my invited speaking engagements, and of course, some of these are paid engagements, which is of course my primary goal here. And I want to get it up to about 20. And I do a lot of extra speaking engagements which are not paid, so that number could easily jump up quite a bit with the unpaid. But for me, for my goals, my personal goals, I want these to be paid, for example. So I record them on my whiteboard, which you're looking at the whiteboard, and then I'm going to look at this at the end of the year and really decide did I do a good job. Now, I know I say December 31st, I'm 99.9% sure it'll probably be January 2nd or 3rd. However, there's still a deadline for me to be able to achieve that. So on the left, you'll see in the black, which is our SMART goals. And then underneath it, you see the ER. And of course, my daughter is very interested. She really wants to go to Paris. And my wife and I definitely want to do that as well. So we decided that if I'm able to do this, then maybe that's our reward. So we're going to keep evaluating. I'm going to look at these numbers quarterly. I'm looking at my whiteboard every day or every other day, but I want to evaluate this quarterly. What am I doing every quarter? So now if we move to the top right, you'll see that I've broken it down by quarter. So Q1, I had 8. Oh, look at that. I didn't transpose the numbers right. I'm sorry. So the next one down should say Q2, and then Q2, 3, Q4. The Q2, I only had 5. So now I'm at 13. So I'm looking pretty good because I'm about 65% of my goal just by the end of Q2.
Mm-hmm.
Q3 and Q4, of course, nothing because we're not there yet. But it looks like things are trending in the right direction, mainly because I had a big Q1. Below it, I have a little note section where I'm constantly putting my little notes where I can, if there's any improvements or if something changes where maybe I hit 20 by Q2. Well, maybe I need to adjust my goals. So I like to make little notes here. Or in this example, which is again behind my head, do I want to do some paid ads, which I've never done? Or do I even want to update my website and throw a link on my website and then be able to email that out with a bunch of information? So I put this, and this is actually, again, I'll repeat, this is actually my whiteboard, and it's behind my head, which you'll see in a moment. And then on the top right there, on the very right side, I like to add some type of motivational quote, which I'll change periodically throughout the year. This is the one that's up there right now. It's just positive action plus positive thinking equals success. So using a whiteboard, so if you look behind my head here, sorry, I'm backwards here. So you will see that this is exactly what you just saw, except this is what I use day to day. And what you saw, I basically spent this morning, I just took everything that was on there and put it onto a JPEG to share. And I will update it as much as I can, or at least touch base with it or look at it and make sure I'm hitting my targets, if you will.
So I have a quick question for you, Amit. Do you think that because you're being very intentional now with the specific goals that you want to hit with your speaking engagements, that it's actually improved your outcomes because you're intentionally looking at it regularly, thinking about it, and doing actions to get towards that?
Great question. So the reality, you are absolutely correct. So as soon as the ball started rolling and I started doing a little bit more, I started to kind of visualize or manifest me being in that situation. And I start seeing these opportunities that may have been there before, but I just didn't recognize it. But now that I'm actually doing it and I'm really keeping track of it, I am seeing it more often, and it's really top of mind for me that now I'm reaching out to companies that I never thought I'd ever reach out to. And other companies are reaching out to me, which I would have, and I do have the opportunity to say no. So I have said no to a couple because, I'm not going to name them, but I just don't believe in what they're doing. So I decline. And that's okay too. And I don't track that. It's just, hey, the opportunity was there, which makes me understand that, hey, you know what? I've been doing this. I'm seeing it now. I'm seeing it better. I'm happy that I have the ability to say no to what I don't want to support. But you're absolutely correct. It is much more in front of my face now than it ever was before.
Really quickly, I want to point out something while we have the opportunity. You just said something that I think is so important that some people will miss. You said that you get opportunities, or you've gotten opportunities, and you've turned them down. And that's because they didn't support your value system.
Correct.
And one of the things that I think it's so important for people to keep in mind when they're goal setting is goal setting also has to be attached to your values, because at the high, or really at the lowest level, if you look at it from a pyramid perspective, the foundation of that is really your values, and your values should be helping to drive your goals. So I wanted to point that out just as a reminder for everyone, since you mentioned it.
And kind of similarly for the audiologists that are watching at home, we have this opportunity to say no because of our value systems, even with our patients. We get patients who come in and they want something that doesn't fall suit with what we think is going to work best for them. And that ability to say no sometimes actually is more equitable in that relationship than just going forward saying, okay, let's do it, and then it fails. So the patient ends up not having the outcome they were hoping for. You're struggling as the doctor with the patient saying, gosh, I should never have done this, and now everybody's upset, right? So same thing with this. You're absolutely right that, if I go on and I support a company and I say, okay, I'll be your spokesperson for this month, and I don't believe in their product, and it just seems really slimy or shady, that not only ruins my reputation, I'm already in the back of my head not happy about it.
Right.
And then it just ruins everything. So very good point.
And I also want to point out on your graph that you made of your 2020 milestones and your goals that, even from quarter one to quarter two, we had earlier talked when we first started the show about how people are maybe having a hard time even just sitting right with not hitting their goals because of COVID and the social distancing and not being able to do business like how we're supposed to or how we're used to. And even your number difference between quarter 1 and quarter 2 was not that big of a difference. And so, knowing that, did you have to adjust your SMART goals or adjust how you kind of kept your goals there, but kind of adjusted the way you actually looked at things or created those opportunities? Did you have that type of thing?
Yeah, and that's a great question. And obviously, this pandemic is, of course, right in front of our face. But the way I approach it is there's always going to be hurdles, no matter what goal you set. There's always going to be a hurdle. And whether the hurdle is, I can't reach up because I had surgery on my shoulder, for example, or COVID-19 being the biggest hurdle we arguably ever had in our lives, or at least since, maybe even 9/11. I mean, there's still goals that you still want to hit. So my goals still stay the same.
Yeah.
Whether or not I wonder some days, was I aggressive enough in my goal setting? Well, again, my job is to make the goal so I can achieve it, because in smarter goals is achievable or attainable. So the goal was, I want to have a metric. And of course, I made this goal before we even knew what COVID-19 was, right? So even though the goal was there, and by the end of Q2, it has changed because it's different. I'm not standing in front of a crowd, of 300-400 people all sitting next to each other, sandwiched in like sardines in a ice cold hotel room. But maybe we're doing it this way, right? Where I'm doing it online, and so I still get the opportunity. I did a talk for a company about, kind of a 90-day back to business protocol after the big hit happened in the beginning, because nobody was sure what to do. So a lot of people stayed home. Well, people started worrying, hey, you know what? I got to get back to work. Well, as doctors, we, of course, were essential workers. So many of us got back fairly quickly, but there were no patients, because most of our patients, I'll say most in general, but most are over the age of 55, which as we get older, that population is in a higher risk group. So those people really shouldn't be coming in to begin with. So now my business goal might be harder to hit, but we still have Q3 and Q4. So what am I doing? Which goes kind of ties back to your question. What am I going to do for the rest of the year? Well, my whiteboard, sorry, I keep going over the wrong shoulder. This whiteboard needs to be flexible in the sense that, okay, I need to do things differently but keep the goal the same. So, if my business goal is, hey, I want to hit a certain revenue number, or as a surgeon, I want to do X number of procedures a year, or as a retailer, I want to sell, or a car dealer, I want to sell as many, this many cars a year. You have to approach it differently so you can still hit your goal. So the SMART on this side here, that part right there is going to be changeable. But this side over here, sorry, I'm terrible at this. This number over here should be the same, or at least the goal is the same. It's how you get there can change, in my opinion.
Yeah. So, besides the whiteboard, and I know that you had mentioned that even your daughter, you have taught to start this practice so early. Besides the whiteboard, is there anything else that you do to either prepare your mindset or to keep you going, to keep you connected and committed to reaching your goals?
Yeah, that's a tough question, because what happens is people, you can forget, right? Or you start to fall off. You start to see, that you're not going to hit that goal, and it becomes very easy to say, I'm not going to hit it. The reality is being as diligent in the process as possible, and that's why, like Reg was saying, she's got her daily one. Really looking at it every day and really focusing on, hey, that was the big picture. And I like to do it at the end of the year. You can do it anytime. There's two words that you can use, and it's act now. I don't know if you guys have heard those. So the reality is act now, because it doesn't matter if it's January 1st or if it's July 18th, or I don't even know what day it is, July 19th, excuse me. You start the process, you set your time limit. It doesn't have to be a yearly thing. It can be a monthly thing. It could be a daily thing. Today is a day, I want to get to tomorrow. Well, what are my goals for today? I don't have the structure to do that myself personally. So that's, again, full transparency. I'm a bigger picture person, so I like to have longer spanning goals. But you have to be able to set that up yourself and really be able to stay on task by acting on the goals and the plans that you've set in place, and really looking at that time frame. I think that keeps you top of mind.
Yeah, yeah. And was it hard for your daughter to also start this process, or was it something that she really, keyed in on, and it was helpful for her that you see at such a young age?
Yeah, I think I want to take 100% of the credit for her. No, I can't. Of course, I probably have little to do with that as much as my wife has more to do with that. My wife is a very strong leader, and she's the one that actually started this whole whiteboard idea, believe it or not. She's the one that bought him. And in fact, to give you guys, I said that I would show this, and I forgot. This is another whiteboard that we have. And essentially, you can buy this. It's not very expensive. You can buy these online or at your big box stores or on Amazon. And the idea is that they've got markers and erasers and all kinds of fun stuff on it. So my daughter has one, to go back to your question. And the idea was, we were looking at during the school year, what are the way that they plan their homeworks. And this is before they had to stay home. During the school year, basically they'd give the homework and say it was due on Friday. Well, it's very easy to just wait till Thursday night to, get online and play Roblox or Minecraft for, Monday or Thursday. Thursday night, you're like, oh man, I got to do all this work. So really budgeting your time. And that's where that came into play as well. To look on a weekly schedule and saying, okay, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, I've also got these classes after school. I've got these things I got to do after school, and really starting to budget. So you start to look at your time frame and saying, oh, I only have 2 hours on Tuesday to be able to do a little bit. And then, you know what, this Thursday, we got an event to go to. So I won't have time to really catch up. So for her, it was more budgeting of her time. But then we also added, what are some of the goals that she wants to hit? Maybe it's grades. Maybe it's, getting more done. We're trying to get her more involved with, a lot of the nonprofit things that we're involved in. And so really having her put up some of those things is extremely important. But again, I really should not take any of that credit. That really goes to Charmy. She's the driver there.
That's awesome. And you've shared, many ways that setting SMART goals have impacted and changed your life, but let's have you maybe share a tip, besides getting a whiteboard, of how people can get started. Maybe a few tips or a tip that you have that will help people get started.
I think it depends on the situation. And I'm going to give you one extreme example, and I'll give you a very simple example. So in the extreme example, there's a metric called key performance indicators, KPIs. And as an audiologist, when we are seeing patients, I feel it's one of the most important business metrics or ways of tracking what you are doing, so you can plan and then you can make your goals going forward. Yeah. So an example, I saw, in January, so my KPI tracker, I have a student in my office, I just showed him my KPI tracker, and, he went, whoa, it's very detailed. But I also have formulas in the bottom that help to kind of funnel a lot of the formulas together so I get percentages. The thing that I look at is, for example, hearing aids. So with our patients that need hearing aids, how many hearing aids did we fit? What was our average selling price? We call it a binaural rate. How many ears did we fit? How many people returned? We're always concerned about having patients bring a companion with them, because our patients, especially ones that need hearing aids, they can't hear us very well. So the idea is that we want someone there to be more of a support structure system. But that also helps with, helping the patient understand what's happening. So we put all this data in, and the data can get very detailed. And so on an annual basis, you have January, you've got all that detail. There's a lot more in my formulas, but at the bottom of it, it gives you a monthly total. Okay, you saw X number of patients, this many needed hearing aids. This is how many actually got hearing aids. This is how many ears you fit. This is how many actually returned their devices for whatever reason. And you've got all your percentages. And now you've got January, February, March, and you got all the way through December. And then I've got another tab where it takes that and it puts it annually. And so I can go in very detailed and look at that those key performance indicators and really see, are there seasonal trends? If I'm going to say my goals are going to be monthly, well, in Phoenix, where I grew up, the summers, you're not going to hit your goals unless your goals are different. Yeah. In December, you're gonna exceed your goals. So the idea is that really making strategically making those goals attainable, of course, but really being mindful of that. So that's where those key performance indicators come in. So that's more of an extreme example. And I don't know if that's something that everyone needs to do, but it's something that at least I do on the business side of it. And not only with the audiologist side, even on my other businesses, I do the same thing. Going down to a very simple way of looking at it is, if you are let's say you're a business person and you need to sell a certain amount of products to be able to pay your bills and maybe even pay yourself. As entrepreneurs, we know that's leaders eat last, right? So the goal is, we always say, well, we want to make sure everything else is taken care of, and then whatever's left over is for us. So maybe a simple way to look at it is really look at what is the bare minimum that you need to be able to generate. And then on top of it, what do you need to do to be able to pay yourself? As much as, I love seeing patients, I'm there for my patients every day. The end result is, of course, we're also in business. So our goal is, hey, we want to make sure that our business is here tomorrow. And I can be a Mother Teresa and do everything for free, but my building needs me to pay rent.
Right.
So where are they going to come from? So the idea is that something as simple as saying, this is the X amount of dollars that I need to make every month to at least pay off my liabilities, and then what's left over that I can take, and then deciding what's appropriate. And then you have to look on your personal side and say, well, yeah, I got my electric bill, my rent, my mortgage, my whatever else, and then coming up with a good number, and then start looking at it a little bit deeper. So I think the foundation is calculating what you need. And once you know what you need as a bare minimum, and then kind of going up from there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that.
Like going backwards too, right? Is, calculating what this amount is and then kind of breaking it up as well.
Yeah, you can deconstruct it completely. You can do it at, you can say, well, last year, this is what I did. Numbers wise, for example, if we keep talking about business, the numbers that I got last year, I can deconstruct that backwards.
Yes.
Down into, okay, so now my goals are going to be shaped a little differently based on what I know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I love that. You're speaking my language, Amit. I love getting into KPIs and strategy and.
Oh, you and I are both on the crazy boat. I can see it.
Well, and I was going to say, Reg, as a business consultant as well as a nonprofit consultant too, and a business strategist, take the SMART goals into there as well. Maybe some of the things that you've noticed, and is it much different from being working with a nonprofit versus a business, or these combined hybrid businesses that are both, right?
No. So my thing, when I'm talking about goals, no matter what I'm talking about, basically when you understand a goal setting process that works for you, and typically you want it to fit into the SMART or smarter model, and then you apply whatever process works for you. Once you've got that down, it applies much to what Amit said. It applies to whatever it is you want to do, whether that's vacationing, whether that's running a business, and a nonprofit is still a business. Mm-hmm. So, there are some nuances there, but for the most part, goal setting, you're going to do that pretty much the same way. And you just apply it to whatever specific category in your life that it needs to be applied to. And I loved hearing Amit talk about doing this with his daughter. One of the things that I've started doing recently with my daughter in particular is goal setting, because she was having some struggles in school, and now she's going to be 16 and she's going to be a junior in high school. And she started goal setting, and literally she went from a C average to I think her GPA is 3.89 now.
Wow.
Great.
And it's all, well, not all, but it's mostly attributed to her goal setting and starting to write things out and looking at things and then motivating herself to do better. And so, as a matter of fact, this summer, she's now taking a 5-week English 101 course, which is a freshman English class. Yep. And I am so proud of her. And I know that goal setting was a very specific part of that. So I say that to say that you can apply goal setting really at any level, and it's pretty much the same. What's different is the process that you use to do it. My process is a little bit different than Amit's, for example, but we each do the process that works for us. But what's important is we're goal setting, right? So.
Yeah.
I wish I knew about goal setting when I was in high school. I did, like your daughter, I took an English 101 and an English 102 when I was between my sophomore and junior in high school. And then I tested out of all the math. And so I was hoping to graduate my undergrad within 3 years. Well, if I had properly goal set it, I would have realized that I was missing 2 courses. which right before my senior year, I was like, oh my gosh, what? I wish I would have known that before, because I was just going with the flow.
Yeah.
And, it's at some point you almost want to quit. And the idea, I mean, there's a book here. I don't know if you guys have heard it. It's called 3 Feet from Gold by Sharon Lecter. I know you guys have heard it. I'm just teasing you. So, you get so close. And if you just, in this example, if you just had that goal setting, you'll get that gold, right? So it's so imperative to start this young. And even though we started her with this a little bit, at 11 years old, we almost are kicking ourselves that maybe we should have started this back when she was 6 or 7. Wow. And really ingrained it in her head way back then.
Oh, I totally agree. I think goal setting really can be the thing that makes the difference between being successful versus not being successful. And when I say successful, I believe is measured by how you define success. That's individual, right? But however you define success, I am almost willing to guarantee that you can bump up the level of that success when you incorporate goal setting into what you're doing. It's just so critical. And like you, I wish that I would have started. I did it a little bit when I was in high school. The problem was I wasn't consistent with it. And I've now learned to be consistent with it. And I see the results. And that's what makes, actually, it's like an adrenaline high for me, because when I see the results of my goals, that actually makes me want to push for more. So
yeah. And I was expecting like the SMART goal, and you adding the ER like totally changed it for me. I think that it's going to be something easy to have younger kids, do it, or your own kids. I think it's going to be a lot easier because I love the evaluation part. Reg has taught me a lot about that. Just being a business strategist is looking at everything and why you're doing it and how do you make it better. So I loved how you had that little corner to evaluate what you could do better. And then the reward. I mean, the reward is something that, again, will keep you motivated to set your next goal, right? So I think the E and the R really added that for me today. So thank you.
Yeah,
absolutely. That carrot is important to, what's the carrot? And one last thing about my daughter, she started doing these little videos that she was making, like animation videos. And I told her, I said, well, if you want to do this to make money, because she likes playing, some of these games online, but you grow very slowly in those games unless you put money into it. So she's like, can I have $5 or $10? I was like, well, why don't you create a goal? How are you going to get that? Start planning it out. And sure enough, she hit her first video that she actually submitted, and she got $15 out of it. So the cool thing is that now, before we even started today, we went on and we paid for those credits on her game. She's happy. So now her goal or her success was measured by happiness.
Yeah.
Even though there was a financial component to it, she's happy. And it's, in my opinion, it'll be temporary happiness because I'm sure she'll blow through it, and then she wants more. Well, the great thing is, create a goal, and we'll keep evaluating it and getting those rewards.
Yeah, that's huge. Rather than just plunking down the money in front of her every time she asks, and it's really teaching her a huge lesson too in setting goals, reaching goals, being successful, obtaining the reward, and then setting a new goal. Yeah, it's the whole cycle. I love that. Awesome. Yep. Well, we always want to challenge people who are listening, and, whether you want to comment here, engage, you can reach Dr. Amit Gosalia if you want to. I had put up his website as well. I'm going to put it back up again here. We want you to share, your goals if you feel comfortable to do that. We also have a private Facebook group page that you can also join at Act Now Guide. And, we want to just make sure that we can keep you accountable, help you along, because, again, taking action for Reg and I included, and even with Amit and I, when we do different projects, it takes accountability. And so accountability is, writing down what you have in goals, sharing with somebody so that they can keep you accountable. So whether you want to post it here, you want to join our Facebook group, you want to connect with Dr. Gosalia, you want to connect with either Reg or I, please put it in the comments and we will get back to you. But we want to make sure that you have a place and a safe space to share those goals moving forward, because we want to make sure that you take action, you stay accountable to reaching those goals. That's the most important thing. So we want to just thank you everyone for joining in and watching. Share it out. Put comments in there if you have any questions, and we'll address them as we get them in. So thank you so much.
And thank you, Amit, for coming on and sharing your goal setting process and your success with goal setting. I enjoyed watching it.
Well, thank you both. I'm honored to be here with both of you, and I'm looking forward to seeing the book.
Thank you. All right, so we will be back next week with an all new episode of Act Now Live. So we'll see you guys then. Bye.
Bye.